So, Messiah, season one. Was it a coincidence that it came out? Was it a coincidence that it came out 2020, the first year of a new decade? Would it be a coincidence? I think not. Maybe this is like a sign. This is a sign that, it's something like that Netflix knows, or, you know, like out of the blues, Messiah just came out. And this show, I recommend watching this show. This show has to do with, I think it's an eye opener because it takes you on a trip. It takes you on a journey. A lot of prophetic, like biblical, like prophecies were fulfilled in this Netflix series, and I think it's something that's I think it's gonna be really like eye opening. Um, so like the first episode, it already starts as the main character. He's known as Al Messiah, and this character really shows that he is dedicated to his people. He's dedicated to the Palestinians, and he's their savior. He's the person who saved the Palestinians from getting persecuted. And in the first episode, this Al Messiah, or Al Messiah, however you guys want to pronounce it, he is excuse my throat. He's essentially preaching on top of a podium, even though there's like no podium, but you know what I mean. He's preaching, and he's praying the word of God. He's like preaching the word of God and everything. And the Palestinians they're in shock because they're not allowed to, no one's allowed to worship there. No one's allowed to like speak of the word of God. And at the very top, you see the Palestinian army, or the Iranian army, like with their tanks about to rain fire down to the city as the sandstorm starts to close in. And just so it can look like it's the sandstorm's fault, and collateral damage and everything like that, they waited until the sandstorm hit the city, so then the army would just rain fire down at the city itself, killing millions of people, and then not knowing that it was their fault. They're blaming it on the sandstorm. It was kind of one of the longest sandstorms in like history. So there's that. After the sandstorm was over, they saw that Al Messiah was just standing there, like he was standing there, still standing there from like the first day the sandstorm hit, which was like what, 32 days or something like that. It was like a month of like the sandstorm just being there. So they're saying that he was there since the sandstorm, which nobody believed. And there were so many ill, there were so many people who were sick, who needed help, and he led them to Jerusalem, right? And he led them there, but everybody thought that they were gonna kill him. Like they thought they were leading them to their death, because Jerusalem is like the only safe haven there is, and like they needed help, they needed supplies, they needed safe haven, a safe house. So he led them there, and everybody thought he was betraying them, and they took him into custody. He went to jail. He escaped jail. Al Messiah escaped jail. And at first, it's kind of skeptical because the way he looks at people and the way he talks to people, it's like if he has them in a trance, or if he's like a mentalist. It's kind of like something like that. He's like a mentalist. That's what it like makes him out to be. You know how mentalists are really good with making you do their work, or doing this. Like this is really like a really confusing thing. Is he really the Messiah, or is he really a magician or a mentalist? And as soon as that hits, like as soon as I said magician, it's because later on in the series it talks about how this Al Messiah has a brother, and they were magicians, and like his brother was a really good magician. So everything's art of illusion. Like he's everything is just an illusion, just to get people rally up, um, cause social destruction. I'm not a huge political guy, so I'm not getting into politics, but continuing the story, Al Messiah, he escapes jail because the prisoner let him, like the guard let him go, and he's being interrogated in there before he got released. He was interrogated, and his interrogation went well. Essentially he was interrogated, and he knew everything about the interrogator, which is weird because you might have done your history before. You might have like done like a report on this person before you actually was interviewing him. But he knew his name. He knew about the boy he killed. He knew about the interrogator, like almost all of it. He knew almost everything. So, I'm not gonna get into too much details, but the Al Messiah knew the interrogator's name. Knew he was a bad person because he killed a boy. He went to jail. He escaped jail, and now he's in Texas. Messiah's in Texas, and he goes to his family where they've been struggling, and there's this family has a daughter, and she's mentally ill. She's mentally ill, and there's a tornado that's about to hit. The family wants a better life. They want to go somewhere else. Their church isn't really doing as big as as they wanted it to be. So the Messiah goes to their place. The tornado wipes their whole town out aside from the church. And this is where it gets interesting because the Messiah himself, in the series, the guy who claims to be the Messiah, he stands in front of the tornado and he just looks at it, and it doesn't hit the church at all. The church is the only thing that's standing. But if he was a con artist, like a mentalist, how would he be able to stop a tornado from hitting the church? That's the one thing where it's confusing because a lot of people have speculations about, oh, is he a magician? And later on, he doesn't perform miracles. Like the Messiah actually shoots a gun at a dog, and because the dog was in pain and suffering, and then the owners of it find the dog and they don't want to shoot it. Like they have to put him down, but they don't want to be the ones to put him down because of all the guilt, all the grief, and everything. And so the Messiah takes the weapon, shoots the dog, and he's like, he wasn't supposed to live. Like, your hands are clean now. And so, they made a huge fuss about, the Messiah shooting a weapon. And for me, it just feels like everything's planned. Like, he clearly knows what he's talking about. Like, he knows what he's talking about. He knows how to get into people's skin. Like, he knows a lot. This person, like, knows a lot. This person has an origin because the FBI, well, not the FBI, but like counterintelligence, they go and do an investigation on him, and they dig really deep into his history. And obviously this man has a name, but I'm not gonna spoil his name for you, even though I've already spoiled majority of it. And he has an origin. He has a brother, and interrogators go and interview his brother, saying that they were magicians, and he have always wanted to be this great magician, and he became this great magician. And so after the interrogation or after the interview, it cuts back into the church, and the pastor who's in charge of the little church that's there, he essentially is asking the Messiah for questions, or asking the Messiah for answers. Where are we going next? What are we gonna do? But he just tells him, God's the only one that knows that. And he gets really upset, and is about to tell he's going to tell the crowd like the followers, that the Messiah doesn't know what he's doing, that he doesn't know where we're going next. And so that happens, and then later on, like as the season progresses, or um as the episodes progress, the Messiah himself asks the pastor, "Okay, I'm gonna have you put in charge. You tell us where we need to go." And so he feels like he has this obligation where he like, oh, I need to praise the Messiah, like I need to worship him, I need to do whatever he tells us to do, because he's sent from God. And like, whether you want to believe it or not, like that's really up to your discretion if you want to believe if he's a real Messiah or not, because it's very controversial. I say it's very controversial. So there's a scene where, just by nodding his head or looking around, and he looks to the right, like obviously they're gonna go to there's a sign where it says Houston, so they're gonna go to Houston, and they drive past Houston, and then they go to DC, and then their plan was to go to DC, and they end up going to DC, and in DC that's really where it gets really funky. Like in DC, he has all these group of followers. They had to close down the roads because they knew how many people were going to go to DC. So everybody got off their cars. The Messiah got off the car too as well, and he started walking. And he gives a little speech, and he tells them that, after what he does, whatever they choose to believe, they will choose to believe, and if they don't believe, that's entirely up to them. And so he ends up walking on water, which is, a lot of you are gonna say it's blasphemy, then like this and that, but this Messiah, quote unquote, is the one who's walking on water, right? And so they're saying, a lot of people, now that we have technology, you know what I'm saying? Now that we have technology, it's more about, okay, there's these people here that have been able to walk on water, and they give us their secrets on how they walk on water. So they think it's a hoax. They think it's something that's made up, and a lot of people are believing in him. There's riots everywhere, like there's like basically like social destruction. It's like, if you think about it, it's like the end times, because people are rioting, people are doing all this other stuff, but they don't really focus on the riots in the US that's happening around, which really just takes away like all the bad stuff that's happening, and it's only focusing on the Messiah part, where it's like they don't focus on, like, there's people who don't believe it, people who are saying it's a false god, people are saying that, oh, he is a god and so many followers. Like in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it says, don't be deceived in times of confusion, right? Because there will be an antichrist. This is where I like why this is why I wanted to like save it towards the end, where we can talk about biblical prophecies and like all this and that. But I want to finish this video on like the whole entire like season. So at the end, there's this mesagogue of like people, and there's this pastor who is quote unquote in this show. Either it's Joel Osteen, and he tries to get the Messiah, the Antichrist, into his church, so everybody can see it and it's aired. So essentially, Joel Osteen is that pastor, and when the Antichrist comes in, that's when they. But he doesn't show up in there, like in the church. They're trying to look for him, and like he just ends up dipping out. And he ends up dipping out. I don't know why. I don't know how, but he leaves with a group of Israelis hired from the government. It's Thunderbolt Ross. Thunderbolt Ross is in there. I think that's him. It might be him. I don't know. It looks like Thunderbolt Ross, but he hires them, and so they're flying towards Jerusalem again, and they want to know why a government plane was, dispatching and going to, Israel, essentially. Going to Israel. And, the last thing the Messiah tells the Israeli that's there, he says, the last thing you're gonna see is that boy when you die. So before you die, that's the only thing you're gonna see. And so the plane starts to the plane, one of the engines explodes, and so they're falling down, and the plane crashes. But as soon as the plane crashes, right, and all the Americans are have been deceived. Essentially, he's CNN is there. Obviously, it's the thing is CNN is there. I don't understand. It could have been Fox. It could have been anything else. But CNN is always number one in every Netflix TV series. Netflix is always there, always there, always there. Or CNN, and so they cover his real name and how he has actually an origin and he's immortal. And there's so many stuff that goes on in that movie. People go to him so they can heal, but he doesn't heal them. That's the weird part, because if you're somebody who's there, you're gonna end up healing people and performing miracles. There was a couple miracles that he did perform, but towards the end of the series, at the very last episode, the plane crashed. The Messiah survived. Essentially, these two Israelis were dead for hours, and they got resurrected. And this boy comes down with water. He's like, I don't know how he did it, but you guys were dead. You guys had insects, flies all over your mouth and crawling into your mouth and everything like that. And he just resurrected you guys. And there's a whole patch of flowers everywhere, in the middle of the desert, a huge patch of flowers there. And for me, that was okay, this is weird. How did he survive that plane crash? Nobody survives a plane crash. If it's a plane crash, it's a plane crash. You're dead 100%. You're not the Wolverine. You're not a mutant or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So they survive the plane crash. They get resurrected from the dead, and then the whole thing just ends. The season ends on them getting resurrected, which I'm curious to see what's gonna happen in the next season, because a lot of people are gonna start watching it. So where I want to get to is the Antichrist. This is the showing of the Antichrist. I don't want to be pessimistic, and people are gonna be like, oh, it's not the Antichrist, it's this. What if he's actually sent from God? A lot of people are gonna get confused, and this is to show a lot of people were confused. People were rioting. There was a scene where there was a lot of dead fish and there was floods. So time of famine. There's gonna be years of famine, and this entity, this person, just comes out of nowhere and just starts performing miracles. This is the Antichrist. And he's Iranian. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Iranians, but I'm just saying this person is it's supposed to be a quote unquote accurate representation of how Jesus Christ would have been. And this goes to show how government back then and government now are trying to eradicate someone who is performing miracles or performing any sorts of magic, essentially, or having a huge group of followers, millions upon millions upon millions. There's a couple of things that I left out of the show because it's a really good show to watch. I would take your time and watch it if you're really into Bible prophecies and Bible. This shows that this could be the Antichrist. I'm just gonna leave this up to you guys, whether you guys want to know if it is the Antichrist or if it's not. But I know in the Bible it says, "Do not be deceived in the type of confusion." And this is all in the Book of Revelation. Like I'm not really big on like Bible stuff, like on Bible, like biblical prophecies, but I know a little bit. Where like in the Book of Revelation, like there's supposed to be an Antichrist, the mark of the beast. So essentially, this Messiah TV series or Netflix series is the whole Antichrist, like the whole Antichrist series where it's how it's gonna go down, worshiping on Sundays, like it's all gonna be at your will, I would assume. But the thing is, like, it's weird how how Netflix just dropped this series on 2020. Was it a coincidence? I don't think so. But um, this goes to show like this Netflix isn't really playing around when it comes to like putting out content that has to do with biblical prophecies about the Antichrist, and then they're really good and they're really specific at what they're doing. So they want to capture their audience. Like this is something big. This is something like this is big. Like this is really something I have not seen, and I think you would really enjoy this video, like this whole Netflix series. But you know, I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you guys think this is the Antichrist and people are being deceived and it's blasphemy, and like I think this is really bad of Netflix to do. Like I want you guys to like comment down below. Tell me your thoughts, because I'm this show is confusing. At some points, like it creates doubt. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes you doubt the person. Like is he really the Messiah? Like it's making you doubt this person. Whereas like people are not doubting it. People are following, and like quite frankly, like I don't know. Like I just me knowing the Bible a little bit, I know this is the Antichrist. I know this is like someone who isn't God. Like this isn't somebody who was sent from God. This person is here to deceive people. This person is here to take as many souls as they can before Christ's second coming. And I don't know. Like the series is really, really, really interesting though. I want to see when they're gonna pull out the second season, see where this goes, and I'll keep you guys posted. But if you guys like the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification, so you guys know when I post. I kind of want to do like a episode breakdown every single episode of like Messiah #1. If you guys want to see that, I will do that video. But like I'm new to YouTube, so it's gonna be my first official like review. And then as soon as more stuff, if you guys want me to do more, I will do other episode 1 review, episode 2 review. Just like I can break it down with you guys and see what I see and see any things that like you guys missed. But subscribe down below. There's gonna be a couple videos in the description if you guys want to check those out too. Support my channel. But I'm here for you guys. I'm here to like let you guys know what I think. I'm here to like give you my insight. That I'm not really that person who thinks like I'm not gonna be another reviewer who thinks that's it's a nice show, like it's nice character development, this and that. It starts off really slow, and I'm not sure anything about Bible prophecies or anything like that. No, like I know this is big on Christianity, and it's gonna like impact Christianity a lot with this TV series. But anyways, I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'll see you guys next time.